What makes a hero? A hero is more than just someone who saves lives. It's someone who is kind and goes out of their way to help others. Across the DMV, there are many unmasked heroes who pour into the community without asking for anything in return. We wanted to take the time to highlight those people and their contributions. I'm Samantha Gilstrap, and this is DMV Heroes. A fire nearly ended one story. Now it's on its next chapter, thanks to some of Alexandria's own.
Recently, because of the store and everything, I haven't been running that much.
Yeah, no. Well, there are periods in life where it just gets too
It's just too
hard.
much, especially when it's cold, dude.
Alors il paraît qu'il est parfois indiscret, sans contrefaçon et qu'il n'est pas du tout con. Nous, on le connaît, et pourtant pas exprès. Sans contrefaçon, il aime les filles, attention, il nous donne des palpitations. Que c'est bon, bon, bon.
I'd really like to talk about, your influence behind starting a romance-only bookstore.
I kind of started to look into what would be something I can contribute and that other business owners in the DMV haven't contributed. So we have great bookstores in the area that have a really great, variety of titles, but the space I thought was missing was a space that really celebrates what women love and what makes us find joy and what queer people love.
Speaking of the romance genre, I know it can be very stigmatized, but it happens to be like one of the most popular genres of books. Can you explain a little bit why you think that is?
There are 16-year-old girls who are writing the next great novel right now on Wattpad because women and girls really enjoy romance because we're able to kind of dig into the intimacy and explore relationships and explore experiences that in fiction books you explore as well. A lot of people kind of say, well, these books are all about sex or it's all about smut. Well, if you pick up Game of Thrones, which is not geared towards women or considered a romance book, you're gonna see a lot of that. So really the issue, I don't think, is that there is sexual content at that point. The issue is that there's intimacy in it and that the sex is all usually consensual. That's really the biggest difference I see. And so I think, if people really kind of peel back as to why they stigmatize these books, they'll see that we love to hate on things that women love.
I think I'd be amiss not to mention there's a lot of push for book banning right now, particularly books that showcase people of color and LGBTQ plus members of our community. Why do you think it's so important to have this as an inclusive, safe space for those kinds of books?
We opened before the election, or we started to rebuild before the election, and that has always been kind of central to our ethos, is that when you go to any section of the bookstore and you want a small town contemporary romance, it's not just going to be white straight couples. It's going to be, you're going to have a whole wide variety of what that looks like, and that's kind of the purpose of a romance bookstore, is that it's all kinds of romance. There's no default as to what love looks like. Our mission has always been about supporting indie authors, supporting local authors, but I think we are very committed to leaning into that mission even more now, especially for authors that are less likely to get big publishing deals because, maybe they want to write a sapphic romance. A lot of sapphic authors are actually told they have to write like male gay books before they're able to write sapphic books, for example. So we really want to focus on supporting the authors that aren't going to get a lot of the traditional publicity. That's what we as indie bookstores can be really good at and how we can help our community the most. So in the future, you're going to find a lot of those types of events with us. We love hosting these big book events for the most popular books so we can all get together and be excited about that. But we're also really loving working with local authors who have reached out and who we've reached out to, and it's been really fun. And so if the book is banned from a public library, you'll be able to find it here.
I know Alexandria has, a little bit of a history of being a little more conservative too. Why Old Town, why Alexandria?
We love how small business friendly Alexandria is. that was a really big drive, is that if you walk down King Street, it's really, there's so many lively small businesses. I love the story, yeah. I love that it's like the sisters took over, and like there's not that many like Black-owned wineries, much less like Black women-owned wineries. So I was like, I'm glad you were able to find that, because I was like, I feel like that's the vibe of the event, you know?
And the labels were beautiful. Did you notice the depiction of
Oh my God,
the taste in the wine?
like-
Well, it was just a couple of weeks actually before she opened, and she had come into the shop and introduced herself and wanted to talk about doing a tasting for her grand opening, which we're thrilled to do. Easy partnership, wine and books. Who doesn't love that?
Hi, good to see you.
The small business community here is very supportive of one another, no matter what type of business you're in. There's just a ton of support, a ton of rallying around each other, and a lot of just organization and communication between the small businesses. So when Jamie had the fire, everyone just kind of overwhelmed her with requests to help. What can we do?
3 days after you opened, you know, you had this big fire. Can you tell me what that was like when you found out about the fire?
I think I was just in shock, and I was kind of trying to believe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I was about to go to bed. We had just finished our last day of the grand opening weekend, our last event. And it had been maybe 5-6 hours. I was like, my boyfriend and I were sitting in bed, reading our books, about to turn off the light, and I got a text, go to the store, there's a fire now. And so we drove over. We're the closest ones of the 3 businesses that were in there. We lived the closest, so we got there first. And, you know, I saw the fire trucks, and that was the scariest part, was how many, like they had 4 fire engines there. And we're like, oh, this wasn't a little tiny fire, this is a 4-engine fire. But we, you know, found out right away that the fire had started in another part of the building, so we were hoping that perhaps our part of the building was saved, and that they responded really quickly, which we're really fortunate for.
The babies, they're so beautiful.
So I was hoping all of us, you know, would at least be saved, but the smoke damage that was traveling through the building throughout the fire all of us, you know, were hit really hard. The store fire, so many businesses have kind of come to my aid in really wanting to make my business successful. Immediately after, I kind of just wanted to be sad, and all of our community really just said like, no, it's about to be Christmas. Like, we're rebuilding this. We're getting you a Christmas season. So I had already been working with Wine Gallery 108, who we're above right now. And she said, hey, you know, we have the extra space. You can move in as soon as you need to.
I'm a single female business owner, and I think after talking to Jamie and knowing she had just opened and had such a huge success, and we were coming up on the holidays, I just know how important that time of year is for any business owner. So I have the space, I had the perfect place, so it just made sense. You know, and she was really only up the street, so her customers didn't even have to go far to get to this place. So it just seemed like a win-win all the way around.
Other business owners kind of gave me recommendations, and brokers to help me find a permanent space. And we had, I think, 8 or 9 businesses reach out and offer to just let us keep books there for now at their spaces. So we had that going on for all of December and January. So the community did not let me fail. They were like, nope, this isn't shutting down. We believe in this as much as you do.
This could have happened to any of us, and that was why so many small businesses locally focused so hard on how we could help.
That's awesome. Really shows you, you know, Alexandria is about small businesses, and the fact that everyone was so willing to step up and help you with this project. You know, that's amazing. Speaking of, I know we're in a temporary space right now. I'd love to know more about, I heard you're moving finally to a permanent space.
Yes.
How did you find that, and what made it so perfect?
You know what's funny is I had a broker who I was working with, but then I got an email from another business owner in the area who just said, hey, I have a couple businesses. One of them I am closing down. This is just not working for us anymore. we need someone to take it over really quickly. And she was like, I heard about you, I heard about the fire. And she was like, I heard that like people say you're great to work with. I was like, thanks. And so she was like, I wanted to offer you first, just like to see if you wanted the space, if you still need one. And I was like, oh my God, how like serendipitous. Yeah, this is it. And so we're on a corner. The windows are like, I'll show you the windows over here too. The windows are like gorgeous. It's gonna be like seating. So there'll be like a little cushion right there and you can sit like in the window. And so I went and toured the spot and I was like, is something wrong with it? Because this seems a little too good to be true. Like the rent's a good price and it's like a beautiful location. Isn't it gorgeous? We really had the wind at our back despite the tragedy. And I'm really grateful someone told her about us.
And where is the new location?
The new location is right behind City Hall.
Okay.
So City Hall is kind of where we do every Saturday, there's the farmer's market. So right behind that on Cameron and Fairfax.
Okay, so right around near us.
Right around the corner.
If you had to rename the bookstore after a different trope, what would you rename it? Maybe based off of something you like to read.
Oh my gosh, okay. Another trope. I love the only one bed trope. The forced proximity. Oh, forced proximity could be cute.
1, 2, 3.
Yay! Thanks, friend.
Ne me posez plus de questions. Non, 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 il a une drôle d'occupation. Bon, 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 toujours la même réputation. Long, 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 et le moment de réflexion.
Friends to Lovers is kind of a special bookstore to us, so of course we had to be here for like their grand opening event.
I actually used the bookstore to propose to Jessica. So
I think I was their second customer to buy books.
the very next time I looked them up, I was like, hey, we need to get back to that bookstore. That's when I found out about the fire. And I said we were going to watch them closely and support them as soon as they opened.
I thought it was really cool too after how like just like a whole community kind of rallied around to make sure that they, you know, could keep going and rebuild.
What is the future of Friends to Lovers?
Yeah, so right now we're just really excited to reopen. So first week of April, we're gonna have all of our grand reopening events, but the future's kind of limitless, honestly. We love to partner with other small businesses. So as, you know, people ask us to do events with them, we love to say yes. We're also gonna have a lot more like custom merch. So one of the other businesses that was in the store fire, she's a beautiful designer and she does really great custom work. So we're gonna have really cute merch and I'm excited to, you know, welcome everybody.
Yeah, so once again, small businesses helping each other out and, you know, maybe one day you'll pay it forward as well by, you know, joining in on other businesses.
The love stories, marginalized stories, stories that sometimes don't get the voice that they should. I love having a dedicated space that is celebrated, shared.
Romance is sometimes a quiet genre that people don't like to talk about. You hide your covers, you know. And for me specifically, I remember a time when I was younger trying to find romance books in my local Barnes & Nobles, and it was only, you know, bodice rippers, you know, stuff like your grandma would read. So now that I'm older, having a space like this where it's like only romance books is just amazing. Yeah. See the growth is nice.
I think it's just mainly just the judgment-free and just being yourself and excited about fictional characters.
Like what you like, be proud of it. You'll find a community, you know, of people like you that you can, you know, share your likeness with.
Get lost in it.
We kind of opened the store with the mission of celebrating what women and queer people love. And I think especially now when what women and queer people love, like you said, are under attack with book bans or just we're made to feel unwelcome in a lot more spaces. I want everyone to know that this is always going to stand for what's right, and we're always going to maintain our mission of being, you know, true to celebrating those things. And I think, you know, I really think when people donated $40,000 to help us rebuild, it was because they believed in that mission, and we're really committed to not letting you guys down. So.
Oh oui, nous donne des palpitations. Ah, que c'est bon, comme un bonbon.
I'm Samantha Gilstrap.
And we are DMV heroes.
That's great.